recorded. Hey, hello everyone. So I just wanted to jump on here to make just yet another comment about a lot of the things about yet some other BS that is news that you're making. So this is from a video about how women don't like for attractive guys to approach them. Yeah, and there's a lot of biological underpinnings that actually makes that happen, right? But they make it sound like it's something so offensive when it's just basic natural or something, right? If you're a regular person, right, and a child comes to you, and the child comes to you as opposed to an adult asking you the same questions, it would land very differently because of what they actually represent. Yeah, that's the same thing. If someone rich, if someone poor, ask you the same exact question, right? You would take it better from the rich guy, depending on what the context is, right? If a rich guy comes and talks to you about could you donate money to someone, and a poor guy asks you the same exact thing, you would not take it well with the rich guy, right? So so they're saying that this is a problem for women. So they're saying that this is a problem, yet another problem that men have to deal with, and as though as though you're supposed to stop behaving like the natural organism that you are. It isn't just humans who do this, it is every organism. This is just a simple basic design, right? But they keep talking about these things like these things are problematic for them, as though they really wish they're trying to find a way to make you stop behaving like the natural organism that they are. This is why I say they're going to kill you intentionally or unintentionally. They're going to kill you directly or indirectly. If they want you to stop behaving like an organism, the only thing you can do is death. That's the only time that can happen. The only time you can stop behaving like an organism is when you no longer exist. When you are dead, dead, dead. Okay? That's what the context of this screenshot is that I took here. And I thought that this comment was so on point with everything that I'm saying. They're gonna kill us unintentionally or or intentionally, directly or indirectly, because they are what they are and they cannot change what they are. And the reason this comment is interesting is he described a social, he described a biological thing that is happening with him and a female. This person who made this comment, right? And the biological thing that was happening was basically socializing with each other, talking, getting to know each other exactly. But the only thing he saw, right? The only reason he saw as her interacting with him was that she must be interested in him. That for her to be interacting with him, she must want to give up her autonomy to become his sex slave. That's the only thing his mind clocked. Why? Because he is not a human being. He is a parasite being. He doesn't do socializing like humans do. So anything that he interacts with, he takes it as an interaction to enact the purpose of his own biology, as opposed to the an interaction to enact the purpose of a human biology. They do not have the capacity to think of how humans interact, of human biology, because they are designed, they are wired to think only of their parasite biology. The biology is is wired to them how all the pipes are supposed to run, right? How all the instincts are supposed to run. That outside of that, they cannot do that. This is why I say biology is that biological design is very, very intentional. Outside of what the design is, they're incapable of doing it. And even though they're able to copy what we humans have been doing, right? Which is why they seem more, less and less, not, they seem more and more human every time. You wonder how come they're this and how come they're that. Well, it's because how come they don't do this, how come they don't do that, etc. Right? Because they're passing the basic check of being a human, right? But the problem is that being a human goes so deep that they don't know that. And when you look below just the basic level, just the basic surface, right? Just what it takes to pass the basic test of being human, they fail it completely. So his mind is clocking it as this is an interaction for him to enact his parasitic biology, right? But she is thinking of it as because while he's only able to think in parasitic terms, she also is only able to think about it in human terms. So she's thinking that she is interacting with a human being, with a fellow human being, which is they can laugh, they can talk about their hobbies, they can tickle each other, but it's really just friendship. It's really just two humans socializing with each other, right? Two humans, getting the feels, not the actual feels, but just camaraderie with each other. That is how she is thinking about this, right? But he is not able to think of it like that. And here's what he says. I remember when I was in my 20s, I worked with this one attractive girl. We would talk all the time at work. She would get excited to see me, and we had stuff in common. One day, I asked her out. She would get excited to see him, as in you would get excited to see anyone who is a friend to you. This is basic human behavior. Basic human behavior. This is basic human wiring. I wrote I wrote down my number. She took it and even texted me. In the text, she said, if we went out, what would we go as? Again, he's taking it as went out on a date. Yeah? Went out on a date. So I don't know how she actually texted it in the actual text, but you have to remember he is the one relaying this to us, right? So he didn't say that there was a date, that she actually asked about a date. Right? We can only assume that he got it as close to the actual context of what her meaning is, right? But notice that there wasn't a date there, which means that she is yet again just thinking about it as a normal human being. You meet a friend, you want to go get drinks, you want to talk about everything that you like and everything that you don't like, how you like to dress and the kinds of lipstick that fit you and the kind of hairstyles that you like, right? Even me, I'm getting just excited just thinking about it. How fun that is, right? But he does not see it that way. He does not see it that way. Because his organism, his entire design is to find a, a prey, is to attach to another organism. Every interaction is designed for that purpose. Every interaction their experience is designed for that purpose. Every interaction that they, they engage into them must be for that purpose. They cannot see past that. They cannot see past that. This is why when you smile at them, this is what they're thinking. You end up you end up being stalked for 10 years. This is why you smile at them, you end up being stalked in the parking lot, being stalked till 10 p.m. from your job. Because their singular purpose, their their singular purpose is to find an attachment, because that is how they get to proliferate themselves, thereby propagating their own survival, right? So it is a mutually inclusive one line, right? You're doing it for this, you're doing it for that, you're doing it for this. You're surviving in order to get it. Attachment, you're getting attachment in order to survive, etc. Right? So every interaction they engage in is designed for that. When they open the door for you, that is so they can get your number, so they can attach to you. That is the only reason they are ever nice to you. And when you talk about, oh no, but when they open the door, they don't actually want to get your number, etc. No, because it goes into the larger society of building a facade of men being human, so that eventually you end up going out with them because you think, oh, men are good, therefore it's okay to want a man. You knew men are not good, you would not want a man. It isn't just that, oh no, some women like bad guys. No, those women like those bad guys under the impression, under the subconscious belief that there is some good in them. If you understand that there is not a good thing, because they cannot be good, because the entire purpose of their existence is to get you as their attachment host, which could kill you, and they couldn't care less if it does. You would not want to be with them if you really understood them in their totality, in their realness. You would not want a single part of them. There will be no such thing as women just like bad guys. That does not exist. Women do not like bad guys. Those women are working under the assumption that he was traumatized, but he's actually good. He was this, but he's actually good. He does all this, but it's good to me, etc., etc., etc. But only because they were brainwashed in all different kinds of environment that makes them think those things. Listen, I have never ever been brainwashed to let a guy do anything to me. And therefore, I have never let a guy do anything to me. There are many more women like me. Because absent of the brainwash is total autonomy from the thought of males, from the desire of males, total autonomy from that behavior, because it is not part of your biology. It is not part of any organism's biology to have an attachment by a parasite, from a parasite to a parasite. That is nobody's biology. So every interaction that they have, because that is their singular purpose, stemming from their singular purpose of their own survival, which, having not invested any energy into their own biological processes, solely comes from using other organisms. Again, let me repeat that. Because they never spent the energy to develop their own biological processes such that those biological processes can help them propagate their own survival. That means they are left with only a singular choice of finding a target host, which means their entire interaction is based on this purpose. That's why he thinks like this. That's why he hears all these things and experiences all these things, all this friendship thing that she is putting out there, and all he sees is a relationship that he can get out of it. Let's go. Let's continue. In the text, she said, if we went out, what would we go as? I said, a date. Yeah? I think you're nice, beautiful, and smart, and I want to get to know you. She said, thank you, but I don't think of you in that way. I thought we were friends. In my head, I was confused because she could have just threw my number away instead of actually texting me. Again, he's getting it wrong because he thinks, because his singular purpose is to get an attachment host, okay? And because of the way biology works, which is that you think things work only the way it was wired into you, because you are not wired to think any other way. You would not know there are other organisms on the planet if not for the fact that you actually saw them. If not for the fact that you actually saw them, you're not designed to know such things because those things do not matter to your survival. Knowing how other organisms work do not matter to your survival. Therefore, you don't invest any energy into so therefore no energy was invested into you knowing how other organisms work. So that means that the only way he knows to think is how his biology was designed. So he thinks that that is how everybody else works, right? So he cannot understand why she wouldn't throw his number away. He cannot understand why he cannot understand that she held on to his number because her biology is thinking that this is a human being who, as the human biology mandates, or not mandates, but designs, or should I say instigates. It's not a mandate, okay? It's not a mandate, but it is a it is enticed. You're enticed to do these things. It makes you feel good when it's good for you, right? When it's good for you and you need to be instigated to do it. It feels good. It feels good to have friends, but it's not necessary for your for your um for your I should I say survival, right? So if that's why it feels good. That's why all these things are built in order to instigate you to do things that are good for you, right? So she is not understanding that she is doing that because of her biology, that it's good to have a friend who is also human. But she doesn't know that the person, that quote unquote person that she's trying to be a friend with, is not actually a human person. That is a parasite person, right? So she's trying to build friendships with him, causing him to think that she is seeking an attachment to him. I was confused because she could have just threw my number away instead of actually texting me. But that stuff I said wasn't even the worst part of the story. After I just humbly accepted the rejection, I felt hurt and down, but just decided to leave her alone, but be cordial. Anyway, I would just greet her and not say anything else. She would give me dirty looks, give me the silent treatment, and would act straight rude to me. I never disrespected her or got hurt about the situation. I just felt bad about myself. One day she came up to me while I was on the register in front of a bunch of other people and said, "Why didn't you talk to me?" anymore. I said, I'm just giving you what you want, leaving you alone. She got mad and stormed off. I guess she still wanted to kind of use me for attention to feed her ego, even though she definitely was not attracted to me. Okay, let's go back a few more steps because I kind of just wanted to get through that to make a point. Okay, so, but the stuff I said wasn't even the worst part of the story. After I humbly accepted the rejection, I felt hurt and down, but just decided to leave her alone but be cordial. Worst part of the story is that what? She didn't leave him alone. The worst part of the story for him was that she didn't leave him alone. Because he felt if you're going to interact with him, you must want a relationship. And therefore, he cannot understand why, if you don't want a relationship, or should I say, an attachment, why bother him? Why bother him? Because his parasite mind, the only purpose to do anything is to get an attachment. Because it doesn't have the energy, it doesn't have the process to obtain energy, to enact biological processes, to propagate biological processes, which means the only time it can function is when it is attached to a host, which means that it has to invest the little time, the little energy it can muster into finding a host, a host attachment. That's it. That's pure point blank, which means it doesn't have any of the instincts to invest in anything else. Because with each biological process that you have to go through, you have to build a bunch of ley lines to control that behavior. You know, not too much, not too little, not too wide, not too tall, not too this, not too that. Right? So that requires a series of control systems, of which the instincts is one of them. And so without a biological process, it has no ley lines for anything. And remember, I tell you, biological design is intentional. So absent any design, it is designed for nothing except for that singular pursuit of getting an attachment. Biological design is intentional. None of them are by accident. Yes, genes mutate, okay? Genes mutate, those are accidents, but they also work a lot. They work very hard to fix those mistakes so that they are actually minimized, right? But those are still not the same as biological design. Design is putting together a process in order to accomplish a goal, right? It could be a small process, it could be a one-step process, it could be a two-step process, a three-step process, but typically they are a series of steps. And the reason it is a series of steps is because one, you have to generate the energy for it first. Two, you have to control it so it doesn't hurt you, because because hurting you would be the opposite of your singular mandate of survival. So those two things, and also getting the actual process done, means that it is impossible for you to not have for biological design to not be in an intention and an intentional put into place a series of what is supposed to happen. So absent a design is nothing. So absent a process, there is no design. Even that singular purpose of finding an attachment, a host to attach to, That too is a process for them. That too is a process for them because they have to find the right host to not make sure that they are macrophaged. So that is, so you can see how that is a step, that is a process, that is intentional design, which means there is no mistake in it. There is no mistake in the design. I'm not saying there's no mistake in the actual realizing of the process, right? Because the design of the process is the template. But when you make the actual individual, yes, some things go wrong. But the template will always be intentional. Now, when you create a template, right, and then you have to make an individual out of that, right? The normal individual will be the one that matches the template exactly, which is going to be most of them, which is going to be the vast majority of them. Moreover, the template that you have, it's going to have some things that are non-negotiable, so that even if a portion of whatever you produce are not perfect, they are in this one thing that is non-negotiable. They will be perfect in that thing. It's like, it's like this. Well, if you want to make a ceramic cup, right? And you have a process to do that, and then you want to print, you want to print a design on the cup, etc. Right? Built into your process is going to be that you only get ceramic, cement, ceramic, medium, ceramic stones, or whatever they call it, ceramic stand, right? You only would get that, which means that every cup would have ceramic base on it. Every cup would be automatically ceramic. That part would be non-negotiable. Do you see what I mean? That is how you create non-negotiable, not immutable features. So that when you meet that immutable feature, you have passed the basic mandate of your existence. And all of them have this basic mandate, which is that what? They are a parasite first, a human not. Because the human is only on the surface. This is why they're not human. The human is only surface. If they were a hybrid, they would have deeper attachments to being human. They are not a hybrid. They are parasites with a human surface. They are not human beings. They are parasite beings. The human is entirely on the surface. The human is only genetic because that is what is needed to enact their parasitism on you. That is the only reason that went that deep. If not for the fact that that was needed, it would be entirely on the surface. So the parasitism is always just enough to enact that parasitism and no more than that. And now let's read the last sentence. I guess she still wanted to kind of use me for attention to feed her ego, even though she definitely was not attracted to me. This is why I said they will kill you indirectly or directly, intentionally or unintentionally. He thinks that doing the human behavior of socializing, of human socialization, is using him. It is so unnatural. It is so deeply unnatural that she's using him to get attention. That it is so deeply unnatural that she's using that as predation, to prey on him for attention. Somebody who thinks like this cannot save you, cannot be one of you, cannot not, cannot not stop from hurting you. He thinks normal human biology is an abomination. He thinks normal human biology is an abomination. When I say, and here is another reason, here's another thing that this guy is showing us. He's showing us that it is all of them. Look at this guy. This guy seems entirely harmless, doesn't he? But he thinks that normal human interaction is an abomination, which means that if ever he gets a chance to light a woman on fire, does that sound like somebody that would not do that? This is all of them. This is why it is all of them. They all think like this to different degrees about different things. Some men might think, oh, a human interaction like that is totally normal, but he might think that you being able to blink, you being able to exist, that's not normal, unless you're attached to a male. Either way, it's going to hurt you. They're going to hurt you directly or indirectly, intentionally or unintentionally, because that is their only design that they know. Because it is not normal to be attached to a parasite. And the reason it is not normal to be attached to a parasite, it is because it is dangerous for your health, and therefore it is dangerous for your survival. And because your singular mandate as a living organism is to live on, is to survive on, that is designed out of you to interact so freely with something that can hurt you. It's designed out of you to not interact with organisms like this. Because it is that bad for your health, for your survival. This is why it cannot not be all of them. Because this is how they think, because this is the only way they know how to think, because this is what they really are. Any man who comes to your face acting all nice and kind, right? He deep down thinks some kind of crazy weird nonsense like this. He deep down thinks some kind of crazy weird nonsense like this, some kind of crazy thing as though human biology is an abomination, as though human biology is predatory. So he is disgusted with human biology. She's using me for attention to feed her ego. This sounds like she's preying on him, when all she's doing is just doing the normal human interaction of building friendship. That is both give and take. This is why it is all of them. There is no such thing as I have a good son, as I have a good husband, because they all think your human biology is an abomination. They think human biology is sickening. There's no such thing as a good male. There is no such thing because of this, because of the inherent lack of this wiring to understand, to empathize, to to realize that the human condition is totally normal. They think it is demonic. This is why they call us evil. Their skin, the skin barrier that they got from us, that prevents them from attaching to us like they would normally do. You sight a prey, you chase after it, right? That's how lions do, right? Now imagine if something is in front of you, like when the lions are in a cage. Like when the lions are in a cage, they see you and they just want to jump at you. But the cage is in their way. That's how it is. And because it is our skin, right, that prevents them from that, this is why they hate us. Because our skin is holding them back from being themselves. They think our skin is disgusting. They think our skin is disgusting because it is preventing them from attaching to you. Because what the human skin does is to what? Keep all your cellular mechanism that would normally be vulnerable to infectious disease attack, infectious organism attack. Those things are encased behind the walls of the skin. The very specific way of how the skin was designed, it is to insulate those cells so that they're not, so that they are protecting you from the the threat in the in your environment. The not only the weather, but also the infectious organisms in your environment. So, but it is a two-pronged protection from the man's point of view. That first protection is that it is preventing him from releasing his tentacles to try to attach to you, right? And it is protecting us from, even if he was able to release such tentacles, from penetrating us. That's what the human barrier is doing, the human skin barrier is doing. This is why they despise us, because it is our skin. We own the skin they are inhabiting. This is why they despise us. Our skin is preventing them from jumping, from attaching to us. This is why they think we are evil. This is why they think we are evil. Our skin is against their biology. Our skin is protecting them. Our skin is causing them to not be able to enact the biology they need for their survival. So do you see from their perspective how, yes, not for you to empathize with them, because fuck that shit, but for you to see from, but for you to see what is actually happening, what the series of behavior is, the series of steps that lead to that behavior, for you to see them for what they really are, so that you can understand what needs to happen, what the solution is to be. That from their point of view, we can only be evil because we are preventing them from enacting that very parasitic biology that keeps them surviving. Because for them, it can only be about survival. And because it threatens their survival, our skin from with the protection, because it threatens their survival, that is why they see us as evil. So I just want to jump up here and actually say that, because there is so much craziness that still needs to be understood from this man. There is so much craziness that still needs to be understood. And they all relate back to this very thing. He thinks basic human biology is evil. And yet, he sounds entirely innocuous. This is why there can be no innocence. This is why there can be no good man. They all think like this. If Obama doesn't think this, he thinks something else that is equally dangerous to the human condition. There are literal millions of these thoughts, millions of this design that are missing in them, that makes them dangerous to us. Because the human thing is a very complex thing.